Harry is distraught. Once the most popular member of the royal family, ahead even of the late Queen Elizabeth II, the Duke of Sussex is now coming to terms with the inevitable. Like his disgraced Uncle Andrew, he will be stripped of his royal titles. Well-placed royal insiders have told the Mark Dolan Show that to lose the title of Prince and the title Duke of Sussex is, and I quote, Harry's worst nightmare, which is why he is so distraught. We're told that the loss of these titles is a source of deep distress to the Prince. Apparently he's horrified at the idea. It keeps him awake at night. He's pondering his future without being Prince Harry and plain old Harry Mountbatten-Windsor. It's his worst nightmare because he has an ego the size of planet Mars. So Harry loses Prince Harry and he becomes plain old Harry Mountbatten-Windsor. Meghan will lose her Duchess title as well. So she's no longer, didn't you know, I'm not Meghan Markle anymore, I'm Meghan Sussex. And the kids will lose everything too. At which point, the royal gravy train comes to a screeching halt. Now, this expected demotion of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is a view shared by Tom Bower, one of the best journalists in the world, one of the most feared biographers in the world, who says that the couple are, and I quote, on borrowed time when it comes to their royal titles. Now, Tom Bower has been speaking to the Daily Mirror newspaper, which is great for royal exclusives, and he argues that Harry and Meghan's behaviour poses a continuing risk to the royal family. No sugar Sherlock! I mean, seriously, is the Pope a Catholic? Do bears relieve themselves in the woods? I should think so. Bower suggests that Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's unprecedented loss of both his Duke and Prince titles should be taken as a clear warning of what may lie ahead for Harry and Meghan once Prince William takes the throne. King Charles's younger brother was stripped of his titles and forced to leave Royal Lodge, his home for 2 decades, following renewed scrutiny of his long-running association with the disgraced Jeffrey Epstein. But the problem is, Harry is similarly mired in scandal, not of the Epstein flavour, but he's brought shame and embarrassment onto the royal family, which is why Tom Bower and my sources believe that Harry is next. You heard it here first. Harry is next. And I'm hearing that Harry is distraught. He's in a dark place, which is pretty bad because he's always in a dark place because he's the world's least happy millionaire. I'm Prince Harry. I've got such a terrible life. Oh, once I had a pair of socks and one was light blue and one was a tiny bit darker. And it was so traumatic, I'm going to write about it in my next book, Spare Two. For Prince Harry, the severity of punishment came as a shock, right? Harry couldn't believe that Andrew was stripped of the Prince title and the Duke of Yorkdom. Harry thought that Andrew would die a prince. And when Andrew was stripped of that title, when he ceased to be prince, Harry realised that that was possible, that that precedent had been set by Harry's kindly father, Charles, who, I'll be honest with you, he's a great guy. He's a decent man, but he's got no backbone whatsoever. So when the throne is in the hands of William, it's game over for Harry because William is a different personality to Charles. William is an amazing executive figure. He'd be a great CEO of a company. He's decisive, he's bold, he's brave, he's brutal, he's ruthless. And William takes no prisoners. And be very, very clear, William is hungry for revenge on his brother, and the perfect revenge is to strip him of those titles. Harry knows it, and that's why Harry is in such a dark place. And that's good, Harry. Inhabit that dark place. Enjoy that emotional and mental dungeon that you inhabit because you have completely brought this upon yourself. You're the luckiest man in the world. Born to rich aristocratic parents. 5th in line to the throne. Oh, I was just a spare. It was so annoying. You're a very lucky man. You've got wealth beyond your wildest dreams, although that's running out. We'll come to that later. Very, very lucky man, but yet consumed with a sense of victimhood, which is very ironic, considering that there are people out there in that great city of London, one of the great cities of the world, who are absolutely struggling to make ends meet. There are people out there who don't know how they're going to pay their rent, how they're going to pay their mortgage, how they're going to put food on the table. We've got inflation, lots of problems. But oh, no. It's Harry living in a 16-bathroom mansion in Montecito, California, who is the victim. Make it make sense. So now he's feeling all even more sorry for himself because he knows that there's more to come. But this is unfinished business. The great irony is that if he was a man of honour, he would have relinquished those titles before heading to North America following Megxit. In 2020, when the couple left, they should have said, we want privacy and we want to move on. We want to be normal people. So therefore, we relinquish the Duke of Sussex title and the Duchess of Sussex title. We relinquish Prince this and Princess that. We want to be regular people. And by the way, the kids, they don't have to be Prince or Princess either. It's not unprecedented because the heroic Princess Anne decided that her children, Zara Phillips and what's the boy called, Peter Phillips, wouldn't be Prince and Princess, and they've had very normal lives and they've been very successful, they've been very happy, and they haven't inhabited the glare of publicity because it's about choices and it's possible to be private. Just don't live on Instagram. Don't turn up to the Kardashians, Kris Jenner's 70th birthday going, oh, did you take my photograph? You're welcome, but don't do it inside the venue or I will take you down and I'll take you down to Chinatown. But obviously the couple are complete hypocrites and they're desperate for fame and recognition and relevance and column inches. But it's a nightmare. It's Harry's worst nightmare to lose those titles because it's all he's got. There's no job. All his charitable stuff has just turned into a hot mess at Centibale. He's been chucked out of his own charity. The African parks, rife with allegations of corruption and negligence and poor management, with Harry asleep at the wheel in charge of another charitable enterprise. Invictus Games, they can't stand Harry and Meghan anymore because they've made that event about themselves. And Harry and Meghan insulted all of the veterans when they celebrated, like it was 1999, at Kris Kardashian's party, with Meghan not wearing a poppy to remember the veterans. I mean, you couldn't make it up. So Bauer has been talking to the Mirror, Tom Bauer, what a journalist, good friend of mine, lovely guy. And he said for Harry, it was unbelievably a shock. It was an unbelievable shock that the king could strip Andrew of his titles, including Prince. And Bauer says it changes everything. Bauer continued, Harry must really fear that William will strip him, Meghan and the children of their titles when he succeeds to the throne. Too right he will. Because William is the man who had to walk to church in 2022, I think it was, and turn around and say to a press journalist that we are very much not a racist family. So can you imagine the humiliation? How awful it was for William to have to even say that. William is a very discreet guy. He doesn't want to be talking about stuff like that, to be brought down to that level. But his brother did that to him. And you're telling me that William's going to forgive and let Harry prance around the world as a cosplay royal, as a counterfeit aristocrat going, oh yes, I'm still Prince Harry and I'm still the Duke of something or other, I can't remember what. I basically got a little kingdom and everything, you know? No, he will not do that. He will take the one thing that Harry's still got, which is that royal lineage, that royal connection. And without that, Harry is nothing and good enough for him. Then Harry can sink or swim. Harry can then start a business. Maybe he can get a job as a waiter in a restaurant. I don't care what he does.
Hello, welcome to Pizza Hut. Would you like pepperoni? And can I recommend the pineapple? It kind of makes it quite tasty. It's a little bit sweet, the pineapple. Kind of makes the pizza, it's sort of salty, but a bit more palatable with the pineapple. I'd recommend it with a cold beer, maybe Budweiser.
I would love Harry to have to get a normal job. He would last 3 minutes. So according to Tom Bauer, he said Harry and Meghan are on borrowed time, and he said they're vulnerable now. He says, because I don't think that there is anything that they can do to reverse the hurt that they've caused Catherine and William. And William is still furious. You see, of course Bauer's right, because there is a Sussex public relations machine that is pumping out all sorts of effluence at the moment about how Catherine is a peacemaker and that William's opening his door and that Charles is all for a reunion and they're gathering for Christmas under the mistletoe. Do me a favour! It's lies from the ruthless Montecito public relations machine. The brilliant Tom Bauer argues that the damage inflicted by the couple, by Harry and Meghan, is far greater than the revelations contained in Harry's memoir, Spare. Now, this is quite interesting because I thought Spare was egregious in its own way. But he said the most damaging rupture Now, this may surprise you, but although I'm pretty lean these days, a few years back I was a little on the chunky side. I lost weight the hard way, calorie counting, cutting carbs, hours in the gym, and trust me, it is no fun. And the bad habits creep back in. Well, this time round, to keep the dad bod at bay, I'm using Hypnosio, a revolutionary self-hypnotherapy app that tackles the root causes of weight gain. Instead of obsessing over diet and exercise, which rarely works long term, Hypnosio harnesses the power of your subconscious to permanently change your behavior. Guided sessions on any device help you to break emotional eating, reduce stress, and build a healthier relationship with food. Think of it as a virtual gastric band or a psychological dose of Ozempic without the terrifying needle and without the side effects. So, no calorie counting, no food diaries, no giving up your favorites, and it works. Users lose twice as much weight as traditional methods, and 94% of people, that is 94%, keep it off. So use my link in the description and pinned comment to grab 15% off your first subscription. What's not to lose except those unwanted pounds? But he said the most damaging rupture came with the Sussexes' 2021 sit-down interview with Oprah Winfrey the year after they left their royal duties, with the threat of future revelations still looming. So Tom Bowers said the Sussexes have a real problem because Meghan isn't making any serious money, nor is Harry really. Now this is true, and I'm so glad that Tom Bower mentioned this. I'm just going to clean my glasses. And by the way, don't people look completely different without their glasses? It's unnerving, isn't it? I don't know what you think, but I find that people with glasses, when they take their glasses off, it's so wrong. It's so wrong. How a love so right can turn out to be so wrong. Oh, my darling. So, the Sussexes, although my mother says that I look better without the glasses, why won't you wear contact lenses? Anyhow, that's another story. The Sussexes have a real problem because Meghan isn't making any serious money, nor is Harry. Now, Tom Bower is one of the most fastidious investigative journalists out there. There is nowhere to hide when Tom Bower is on your case. If this guy is rifling through your garbage, then you've got a problem because it means he's writing a book about you and it won't be pretty. And he's written books about Mohammed Al-Fayed, who of course was Dodi Fayed's father, the owner of Harrods, Mohammed Al-Fayed, and Fulham Football Club, and Dodi's father, who of course Dodi was dating Diana when she tragically passed. And of course, Dodi was in that Mercedes-Benz with her that fateful night in 1997. Turns out Al-Fayed was a monster and the most appalling man in terms of his treatment of women, which is too egregious to even mention on a family show. But he looks to have been a wicked man, Mohammed Al-Fayed, and Dodi was his son. But my understanding is that Diana and Dodi were very much in love. But Tom Bower wrote a book about Al-Fayed. And when Tom Bower was writing a book about this guy, Tom's a friend of mine, what a lovely guy. Tom said to me that Al-Fayed threatened to break his legs if he wrote the book. And this is how courageous Tom Bower is, that he continues to write the book. If somebody threatens to break my legs, there's not going to be a lot of book writing going on. The book writingness will start to shrink a little bit because I don't really want the broken legs. But that is what a rock star, Tom. I mean, I like to think maybe I would be brave enough. I hope so. But, you know, rather him than me. Tom Bower had that threat of violence from Mohammed Al-Fayed, which, by the way, tells you everything you need to know about the guy. He's no longer alive. He used to own Harrods. Made Harrods quite tacky, made it very glitzy, very chintzy, you know, not classy at all like the original store that it was. And he wrote a book about, so, you know, Tom Bower is very brave. He wrote a book about Tony Blair, which was, I'm afraid, not flattering. Richard Branson, not flattering. Turns out Richard Branson, according to the book, a real opportunist, public relations hungry, cynical, very ruthless man. Yes, successful, and he's done stuff for charity, but no angel is really the headline regarding Richard Branson. So he's profiled lots of people. He's profiled Meghan Markle, my husband. And again, it's a brutally unflattering portrait. But even though he writes these brutal books about people, which are full of horrific information, no one's ever sued him. Why would that be? I can't imagine why. By the way, a quick story about Mohammed Al-Fayed, because I have an admission for you, which is that, yeah, he was the first boss in the media that I ever had. Because I graduated from university. I was at the University of Edinburgh, which is the capital of Scotland. It's a beautiful city. The University of Edinburgh. The nickname for it is Old Reekie, and I always get it wrong why it's called Old Reekie. I always forget. But anyhow, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. Even though I was there 4 years, can't remember why it's called Old Reekie. And so, well, I thought it was the breweries, but someone corrected me. Anyhow, let me know in the comments, why is it called Old Reekie? It is a stunning city. And I feel that a chunk of Scotland is in my heart. There are lots of viewers of the Mark Dolan Show who are Scottish. And it's an incredible country with a great nation. So, we love Scotland. And I was up there for 4 years. And how on earth did we get to Scotland? I was at the University of Edinburgh. And, so I graduated. And what then happened is that eventually I got into the media and I got a job at a radio station called 963 Liberty. And it was owned by Mohammed Al-Fayed. So what had happened? He had this battle with the British authorities, the Home Office, which is like the Department of Homeland Security in the United Kingdom. They wouldn't give him a passport, a British passport, because they thought he might be corrupt. They were worried about his background. So he wasn't granted a passport, which is ironic because everyone gets residency these days. You're welcome. Make it make sense. But back in those days, so he couldn't get a passport because of his dodgy dealings, allegedly. And so he's like, well, I know what I'll do. I'll become a media owner and that will give me status and then I'll get a passport. So what he did, he bought a football club, which is Fulham, and he bought a radio station, which was called 963 Liberty. And it was my first ever job in radio. And he was my boss and I met him a few times and he seemed like a nice guy. But obviously what I've heard about him since is quite horrific. Anyway, there's a story about Mohammed Al-Fayed, which is that he used to walk around Harrods to make sure everyone was doing a good job. And he was in the menswear department and and there was a guy in the menswear department wasn't doing anything. And Mohammed Al-Fayed said, do some work. I'm paying you good money. Be busy. And the shop assistant went, of course, Mr. Al-Fayed, and starts folding jumpers. It's a big old shop, Harrods. So then he carries on his walkabout. He's walking around like he's the king. Very regal, Mohammed Al-Fayed. And then what happens is that Al-Fayed takes a shortcut, right? Does not go the long way around, but swings straight back into the menswear department again. And the guy's doing nothing again. At which point, Al-Fayed's like, get rid of him. So he was a ruthless man. He was, I met him a couple of times. He was a very sort of emperor-like figure. Very, very powerful, high status, beautifully dressed, fastidiously dressed, definite presence. But clearly, by the looks of it, based upon allegations, not a good man at all. And the other thing about Mohammed Al-Fayed is that you knew that you'd lost your job because your phone line wouldn't work. People would be in the office and they'd like pick up their phones to make a call and the phone line would be dead. And you'd be like, hey guys, HR, my phone's not working. They're like, oh yeah, we need to have a chat. That was your last shift. Anyhow, that's Mohammed Al-Fayed. Let me get some lights on, one moment. Working under these conditions is intolerable. Right. So, Tom Bower, if he's saying that Meghan and Harry are not making any serious money, we know it's true because he is a fastidious, thorough, and fearless journalist. And of course he's right. It's the understanding of the Mark Dolan Show that Harry and Meghan are flat broke. So he says the threat to the royal family is that they will do something foolish and damaging to the Windsors. He said they are uncontrolled. So the danger lies in Meghan maybe writing her own memoir or doing another interview like Oprah Winfrey. The legacy of that interview cannot be overestimated, says Bower. And Meghan's accusations that the royal family is racist still echo. Who knows what else she might say in the future? Of course, he's right about that. He's right that they're broke. He's right that Meghan is planning a book. He's right about a possible Oprah interview, the sequel. He's right that they are incredibly unpredictable, the two of them. And he's right that they are consumed with hatred, bitterness, a hunger for fame, and financial needs. And you know what they say, the art of war. Do not paint your enemy into a corner. Your worst enemy is the one with nothing to lose, and that's close to where Harry and Meghan are now. And Harry's distraught. If he loses his titles, what is the response? Well, I think at that point, let me know in the comments, should William strip Harry of his titles when he becomes king? Which Harry's distraught about. Because I think he should. And I actually think that fixes the Harry problem for William. Because it clips his wings. He's no longer the Duke. He's no longer Prince. He loses that branding. I think that is his influence gone. I think he's still able to hurt the royal family because it's the Duke said this and the Duchess said that. The parents of Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. I'm Lilibet and my mother is Meghan Markle. Didn't you know she's not Meghan Markle anymore? She's Meghan Sussex. Oh no, she's been stripped of that by my Uncle William. You're welcome. My husband. A continuing point of friction has been Meghan's use of her royal titles since the couple settled in Montecito. This is another reason why William's going to take the titles away, is because they do not keep their promise to the Queen not to use HRH. When they stepped down as working royals, they agreed to give up HRH, his and her Royal Highness, though they were allowed to retain them. It was very nice to the Queen, far too nice, that they could keep those titles but not use them. But these two, they don't stick to the deal because they have no moral framework, no decency whatsoever, no ethics. And this arrangement of stripping them of HRH mirrored the understanding previously struck with Andrew when he was still Duke of York. But what's amazing about Andrew, and here's the complicated thing, he's an incredibly foolish man with some very, very dodgy friends. But proactively, he's done a lot less. He's not set out to hurt the royal family ever. And when he relinquished the HRH, he went quietly. And when he was stripped of Prince, he went quietly. And when he was stripped of the Duke of York, he went quietly. When he was evicted from the Royal Lodge, he went quietly. Because he's a fool, he's a buffoon, he's probably a disgusting man. Again, in relation to women, what is it with these men? Honestly, they're so bad. But, you know, he's kept his word and he's done all the things he said he would do. He's not been sending people picnic hampers with HRH Prince Andrew. Yeah, man, I'm still Prince Andrew. Oh, you should see my address book. I got loads of girlfriends and I'm still Prince Andrew. Oh, no, he hasn't done that. And Harry did. Controversy resurfaced when Meghan sent a gift to IT Cosmetics founder, or is it Cosmetics? I don't know. I'm not wearing it Cosmetics today. Her friend who runs a cosmetic company, a very nice lady called Jamie Kern Lima, earlier this year. Meghan sent her a package and with a card attached to it. And it said, with the compliments of HRH, the Duchess of Sussex, this little upstart, this wannabe, this horrible fraud, this disgusting phony is still writing HRH on monogrammed notes, pretending that she's a member of the royal family when the late Queen asked her not to do it, and she made a promise to that amazing lady, that iconic figure in Elizabeth, who is a figure of history, whose first prime minister as Queen was Winston Churchill. She was in her early 20s and she has to sit down and have an audience with Churchill.
Well, Your Majesty, we shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them in the sea. We shall fight them in the river. We shall fight them in the air. And we shall win. Keep calm and carry on.
What a guy. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking.
We shall fight them on the beaches.
If ever you're in London, you need to go to the Cabinet War Rooms. This is where the government was run. The headquarters of the government during the Second World War was in the basement in Westminster. And it was very secure. It couldn't be bombed out. And Churchill had a little sleeping area with a bed and a bedside table with a lovely bottle of brandy just to keep him going. And he used to go around in these velvet jumpsuits. He didn't wear an actual suit in the Second World War. He had these like zipped, like a boiler suit type thing. He was comfortable in those. Who cares? He looked like a giant baby in a baby grow. I can't lie. But my goodness, is there a better human being in history than Churchill? Oh, people try to say he's controversial and he saved the free world. I'll take that. I love Churchill. There you go. I don't care. Feel free to disagree in the comments. The Mark Dolan Show is a broad church. I love Winston Churchill.
We shall fight them on the beaches.
And he's a good advert for brandy. Imagine winning a war on brandy. You know, God bless him for that. So she writes with the compliments of HRH, the Duchess of Sussex. She has the cheek to call herself Her Royal Highness having promised. So this is why William will take the titles away, because A, punishment, B, because they breached the terms of their contract with the royal family when they left, and C, because they will continue to leverage those titles in the years ahead. So sources close to the couple insisted that the monogrammed card was personal and not linked to her as ever brand or any business activity. But it's all blurred, isn't it? Because Harry and Meghan have got their own little logo for letters, and it says M and then H kind of glued together in a creepy way. And then it's got a crown on top. Now that's not an official royal style, so they're not breaking any rules, but they're breaking the spirit of the law because they're implying that they're royal. Because without that, they've got nothing. Which is why Harry's distraught, because he knows when it goes, it's over. It's over. It's over. The debate reignited after Meghan's interview with Harper's Bazaar, which we covered on the show, in which the brilliant journalist Caitlin Greenidge recounted an unusual moment. She said, when I enter the property, right, she goes into the house for this interview with Meghan Markle. You know, I'm not Meghan Sussex anymore. And the journalist says, when I enter, the house manager announces Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, even though we appear to be the only other two people in the house. And these are the delusions of grandeur that Meghan has. This is how insane she is. You see, there might be an argument that Harry keeps Prince Harry and keeps the dukedom because of his lineage. You know, that was the argument with Andrew, is that Prince Andrew is Prince Andrew. He's the son of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. So he is Prince Andrew. You can like take the prince away, but he's Prince Andrew. Kind of like I'm Mark Dolan. You can say, oh, well, you can't stop calling yourself Mark now. You're just Dolan Esquire. That's fine. I'm still Mark Dolan, aren't I? And that was the argument. That was the argument with why they wouldn't strip Andrew of the princedom. But the king had had enough, and it was becoming so bad, so many bad headlines. So he did it, and he acted. And this has been a huge shock in Montecito. Montecito! They cannot believe it, and Harry is reeling from the Andrew twist. Harry did not see that coming. Harry thought that, yes, Andrew would probably be chucked out of the 30-room Royal Lodge, and he thought he'd lose, you know, some of those rather grand associations like the membership of the Order of the Garter. He didn't think in a trillion years that Andrew would cease to be Prince Andrew. And the moment that happened, a big fat gulp from Harry, realizing that he is next. So Bauer, whose second book on the Sussex is due next year, says the power of the title is key to Meghan's public identity. He said it's a great trading asset, and she uses it ruthlessly and with impunity. It's nothing to do with the royal family, he says. She couldn't care two hoots about that. She just uses it to give herself the status she craves. She's actually, I would say, devaluing the royal family because her business ventures are so unsuccessful. And the only positive thing they've got is the kind of Duchess thing that's attached to them. So what that does is it brings down the stock value of the royals altogether. So this is very damaging. We're a bit like McDonald's, let's say. Let's imagine that there was a really, really bad burger chain, like a really low quality burger chain, and they were using the name McDonald's. Maybe they called themselves McDonald singular. And, it's like,
Hi, welcome to McDonald's. It's cheaper than McDonald's. And I mean, the beef, I don't know where it's from. I think some of it is horse. There's a bit of horse in there and squirrel, and it's all meshed up, you know. It's anything with roadkill. It's McDonald. It's not McDonald's, it's a singular McDonald. But it's cheaper. You got a burger, quarter pounder with cheese. It's got like dead mouse in there and a rat's tail. And you got a cheeseburger from McDonald's.
By the way, I wouldn't mind a trip. I wouldn't mind a trip to McDonald singular. What an interesting restaurant. What an interesting restaurant that would be. But you can understand how McDonald's would feel that this individual, let's call him Big Jim.
My name's Big Jim. I mash up anything I find. I got. We had a cat. It was poorly, you know. Cat was poor. Cat was sick. the cat was sickly, infection, weeping eye. And so we took care of the cat, and put it in the burger. And it's a quarter pounder and cat is what it is. McDonald's, singular.
So if you had that, then understandably the management of McDonald's, which is the world's greatest restaurant chain, would step in and say, with the greatest will in the world, please, Ronald McDonald would be like, "Hi, I'm Ronald McDonald. I understand you're trying to make a living with your McDonald's singular, your cat burgers, but they're very damaging to our brand and our intellectual property, and I'd appreciate it if you ceased and desist and call yourself something else. Like, I don't know, you could, instead of the Burger King, you could be called the Cat Burger King." So that's what Meghan is doing. Meghan is the equivalent of the singular McDonald. Right? Meghan is devaluing that brand. There's no way that William will let her carry on doing that. Charles will, and I'll tell you for why. Let me say just this. Charles will, because Charles, in my view, and based upon my sources, Charles does want to reconcile with Harry. That's why the Clarence House face-to-face happened, and why there will be likely some kind of rapprochement next year. It's going to be slow, it's going to be painful, but Charles is an old softie. This is his youngest son. You always love the youngest because the youngest is always sweet. I'm the youngest, and look at me, I'm so sweet! I'm the youngest of four, and I am impossibly sweet. And that's what happens when, look at me, I am so sweet! So therefore, Harry, Charles loves Harry, okay? And something, blood is thicker than water. And yes, terrible things have happened, but it's still his boy. And it's also his, genetic DNA. This is his issue. This is his offspring. Harry and William are his genetic contribution to the world. And when he's gone, they remain. So, they're a bit of him, really. And therefore, he wants to rapproche. He wants to have peace to a degree with Harry, but it won't be quick, but it will happen. But William does not. And I'll tell you what's going to happen is when William becomes king, when, God bless him, Charles passes, which I hope is many years from now. I hope it's decades. He's a very decent man and a good king if it wasn't for all this drama, which is not really his fault. But when he passes and when William becomes king, this is a chance to turn over a new leaf. And William, a bit like an incoming government, when there's a new president or a new prime minister, a new administration, they talk about the first 100 days, don't they? Have you heard that? The first 100 days. And William's first 100 days are going to be huge. They're going to be huge. And it's going to be ruthless. And that's why Harry is distraught, because he knows. Tom Bower added that Meghan may only now understand the implications of Andrew losing his title. He said, "I don't think Meghan realised until Harry told her that his uncle had lost his title, that is a reality. I don't think she or any of us realised they could be so ruthless." Bower goes on to say, "I can only imagine she's now sitting there thinking, what are we going to do? Because without the titles, who is she?" He's so right. But she's betraying the royal family every time she uses the title. Now, don't get me wrong, removing the titles from Harry and Meghan would be more complicated than dealing with Andrew, partly because Andrew was a willing participant in this royal divorce. Tom Bower argues that such a step would not be initiated by the king alone. He said, with the Sussexes titles, it's a rock and a hard place for the royal family. The only way to undermine Meghan's status, although it would look like sour grapes, is to take away her title. He added, and it won't happen during Charles's lifetime. Well, of course, that's what I've been saying. He said he'll only act on William's pressure, and there's no reason ostensibly at the moment to strip them their titles. They haven't done anything embarrassing other than using it to trade on. They would have to be very careful about how they do it. But he goes on to say, I think it is inevitable. Yikes! Tom Bower knows his onions. So this is huge, folks. It's massive. And if Harry's having sleepless nights, fair enough. Because do you know something? You reap what you sow. He's brought it on himself. And it's something to which Harry is a stranger, which is the consequences of his own actions. Dramatic stuff. Folks, cannot wait for tomorrow's show. Sitting on a very, very big story for you. Always more material. All I want to say to you is big love. stay awesome. And please like, subscribe, hit your notification bell. Lots of love for Donna, who alerted me to the story about Thomas Markle Jr. attacking Meghan Markle on his YouTube channel. And so, Donna, thank you so much for being an amazing member of this Mark Dolan Show family in sharing this story. The Mark Dolan Show, the only show in the world, thanks to Donna, who covered this massive story. And if you want to know more about it, go back to the previous episode of the Mark Dolan Show. And it's about how Thomas Markle Jr. has attacked his younger half sister. It's explosive stuff. Also, some people said they wanted to see the Thomas Markle video. What you do in YouTube, search Thomas Markle Jr. and then don't go to videos because it's not there. You go to live, and then the full 1 hour, the most recent 1 hour, is quite the most spectacular hour you'll ever see. Guys, it's been great to chat. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Please let me know what you're liking about the channel, what you're not liking. The comments are not part of the show, they are the show, so keep them coming. I read them every day. It's the highlight of my day. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Bye for now. And I think it's gonna be a lovely day.